Hi, my name is Sam Price, the Crypto Lifer. I'm a technical analyst of over 15 years, and today I'm going to give you a macro technical analysis for Bitcoin, Total 3, Bitcoin Dominance, Tether Dominance, Gold, the DXY, S&P Futures, NASDAQ Futures, and more. Stay tuned for that. We're going to wrap it all up in under 20 minutes and get you educated and ready for the week ahead and see kind of what happened in this trading week as we get towards the New York close around 4 p.m. Everybody, I love you. I appreciate you. Let's jump on in to BTC and see what's happening. Today was a volatile day. Heavy pumpage, followed by dumpage, followed by pumpage. It's pretty interesting. But first, all we really want to see is when will we close a weekly candle the highest we've ever closed it. This weekly candle was about to be the highest weekly candle in the history of Bitcoin. We had it. We got back below. So we now know we have weekly resistance at about 71,300. Once we break above 71.3, it seems we'll be off to the races and no more. We'll be on our way to price discovery. You can see though we did close the strongest 2-week candle in the history. That is now the biggest 2-week candle that's ever closed in the history of Bitcoin. And I like to look at the monthly. The monthly did get rejected by this monthly high. We're going to have to break back over 71,000 for the month, but it's a beautiful flag on the month. And we definitely broke out of that channel, and things are looking really, really beautiful. On the bigger time frame, on the macro, and this is your macro analysis, you know, the monthly suggests you're in a flag on your way up to $119,000, $120,000 Bitcoin. And it says you get there somewhere by June or July. Any quicker than that, you'd be in a straight move. If you get there in February, it's going to be like almost physically impossible. Maybe May, but it says June or July is the most likely scenario for Bitcoin to hit about $120,000. So all, you know, big time frames look absolutely beautiful. The weekly struggling slightly. So let's kind of break down what we see happening. We have this beautiful uptrend. We have this beautiful top trend, and you can see Bitcoin kind of getting inside of this tight triangle. I almost feel like it broke out there, but you could say, okay, it's resting. You look at your 3-day chart, and your 3-day chart has that red here, and it is a little overbought, but it's very, very tight. What I've been looking at is like this, right? We broke out of this beautiful triangle. We retested the top. We came out, and to me, it just seems like we're retesting one more time. We just have to make sure that we have support here at about 68,000. Today, we did tap 68.8. Are we going to go lower? And that is the question. Let me kind of bring that back down. So you can see we broke out of the triangle. We retested the top. We hit beautiful support at 6,003. I called this. How did I call it? I trade the 21. Whenever we get far away from the 21, it's likely we come back. Likely we come back. Today, we bounced nicely. I'm going to give you some insight. I mean, I am going to have to go to somewhat of a smaller time frame, but here, you have a swing up on the 4-hour, but a swing down in the RSI. Well, the stochastics reset, and if you pull a fib, you bounce pretty closely to the 618,706 Fibonacci. That is a known reversal. That is a known reversal area, and I would not be surprised if Bitcoin, at least on the 4-hour, breaks back out this weekend, back up somewhere to 70,000, 72,008, maybe to consolidate a little more for a bigger move. But I am expecting a bounce here for Bitcoin off this hidden bullish divergence and the 618 golden pocket back up into the $72,000 region, 72.8. So I'm looking for the bounce for Bitcoin. So far, it looks like the daily held off what could have been a worse dump. And it's looking pretty interesting here now as we sit tight above 69,000. If we lose 69,000, we will drop lower to 66. I mean, it's pretty quick. So you do not want to lose 69K for BTC. But all looks good. I showed you the monthly, the weekly, even the 2-week chart. Everything's actually looking pretty nice. And the next 4 to 5 days, you want to make sure that this 4-hour does play out and we head back up to this key area. Another thing that's interesting to look at is, are we making a shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder here? That Fibonacci hidden bullish divergence is very strong with low stochastics. You would expect a bounce here for Bitcoin. Total market cap, right, of all the cryptocurrencies. Let's take a look at it here on the bigger time frames. It's in a giant cup and handle, about to explode. We've gone over this many, many times, and then it did break out just like Bitcoin did. And we're going to zoom into this flag for you in a second and show you what I see happening. So it broke out, retested the top of this trend line. We'll remove the moving averages for now, and then we'll kind of show you this flag here. So this is what this flag is doing. It broke out. It came back inside. But look, it got very, very tight. Moving averages got close together. That told us it was going to be a move. Remember when we were here last week, we said, I do see a move here at the bottom of this channel. That was October 28th. It's now the 1st. So we were here somewhere here is when I was last. And I said, I expect a move out of this to the upside. It's exactly what happened, right? We did get that move to the upside. We came back down. And now we've made a higher low. Again, hidden bullish divergence is same scenario here. Likely going to bounce here to the top of the channel. When we get here next week, it's going to be the 8th of November. And what I see happening is we're going to bounce, probably come up, and it's likely we're going to be somewhere right here when I show up, about to get a bigger move, but we will be higher than we are now for the total market cap. The total 3, which is the entire market cap of all the cryptocurrencies, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And look how tight these altcoins are getting. If we again remove the moving averages just for clarity, and you look here, you can see the altcoins are getting tighter and tighter and tighter in this range, telling me that a big move is coming sooner than later. Solana looks good. Solana looks like it's going to beat up on Ethereum. We got a chart for that later on too, if you stay tuned. This is really interesting. So I'm seeing tightness. We slap on the moving averages. Whenever the moving averages are this close together on the daily, I load up. This tells me that altcoins are about to explode. There's going to be a pretty big move in the altcoins, and I see it happening. Once we break through 654, it's going to be a ride of a lifetime. Bitcoin dominance. We told you it was going to continue to the upside the last time we were here. What did it do? It continued to the upside. We now see it's in another flag that really wants to break out. Despite what happened today, more and more people want to get into Bitcoin. I bought $4,000 worth of Bitcoin since last night. If I bought, how many more people bought 40, 50, a million? You know, it's just like so many people want to get out of the legacy banking system and jump on into something new, something that pays you. You know, my Bitcoin, I'm going to hold for the next 10 years. It's going to produce value over time. It's not going to sit flat. And then I could probably use it as collateral. There's going to be DeFi with the Bell 2 protocol. There's so much coming out for Bitcoin. Bitcoin dominance is about to rip yet again. When we come here next week, it looks like Bitcoin's going to be higher than we are now. Somewhere into maybe 74, 75,000, and Bitcoin dominance is about to explode. Watch your altcoins. They're going to move, but it's going to be the Bitcoin show, likely until we get closer to that $100,000 level. Tether dominance. We should see this in the inverted head and shoulder, the inverted cup and handle. There's your cup, there's your handle. There's the head and shoulder. And then we gave you this bear flag that was likely going to break down on the smaller time frame. It did exactly that. Remember, we were somewhere here when we last did this, 7 days ago, right here. I said we would hit this and likely dump down. That's what happened so far. And now we're bearishly retesting yet again. Looks like we could go even lower for Bitcoin. You can now bring this now here because that flag broke out. And now you're just in another flag as far as I'm concerned. What you can do is you can flag this out, and it looks like it's definitely going to continue. So you had a head and shoulder pattern. You lost the neckline. You bearishly retested the neckline. You went sideways. Look for the DXY to continue lower to the downside. And if we look at it here on the 4 or 5 day chart, it wants to bounce. It does want to bounce. So if it can bounce, just make sure it never gets back inside this trend line. You want to make sure we get a firm rejection there. And that area is going to be somewhere about 5.55%. Wow, and on the weekly, it still has legs to go. About to cross the dotted line and really make a nasty drop down to probably 3.89. It's suggesting this month there should be a pretty big pump. The DXY about to drop on the 4-hour time frame. Shoulder, head, right shoulder. Hit the top of the bigger range. As we zoom out, you can see this is the descending triangle I'm starting to form. That's the highest we could go. We had a nice run, but it looks like the run may be over. If the daily decides to lose the 200 MA, which is likely, if that head and shoulder I showed you plays out, you're dropping here, and then it's like you're going to make your way all the way to the bottom of the pattern, only to kind of do this to eventually, in my humble opinion, drop to the downside there in June of 2025. So we could have a bigger rally also based on the fact that the dollar is dropping. So the DXY looks like it's going to take a nasty drop if it loses that. Now, what could happen if it gets back above 104, then this flag's breaking out. We'll rechange the story. But right now, it's definitely looking like we're going to lose the 200 on the daily and head to the bottom of the pattern. Gold, we told you gold would continue. I said, just look for gold to continue going up. I said, that's what I see happening. I said, draw this flag now. Gold's probably going to flag out and then eventually break out again. It's in an upward trending flag now. A little bit of bearish div there, but it doesn't, if they continue to print money, the bearish div will not have the ability to play out because they're just going to continue to print. I see gold again, like I said every single week, and I've been right every single week. Watch for gold to consolidate here above 27, right? 2,700. I see gold in, when I show up again, probably just consolidating. It's likely we're just still going to be somewhat moving up, but inside this flag, when I show up on the 8th of November, right, we should be somewhere right here on the way up for a big explosive move. But I do see gold forming a move. And it could be a more lateral flag once it stays, nicely above this resistance, which is now support at about 2,727. But I like this, man. Gold is looking good, and they're about to print. So we can raise this up, too, and it gives us a bigger target all the way to $3,140. By the end of December, it says gold's going to go on some type of rally. The S&P futures did lose the trend line that we talked about. I wanted that to get a bounce. I saw this flag. We fell down. However, we did not get stopped out on the stop, and we got back inside, and we got back like above that level. But we want to see, you could open it up, and we want to see if we can bounce back to the top of this channel. My key level that I'd like to see us get back above is 5,800. Once we revisit 5,800, get back above it, there's a good chance we can continue to the upside. Let me look at the bigger time frames, like your 3-day. 3 days a little bearish now, finally, right? Away from the 21. But it looks to me like it's expecting a bounce. Again, with the election and the money printing, you're going to have some irregularities here to the S&P. Yes, this is a rising wedge. Yes, rising wedges break down 68% of the time. If you drop, you will drop to 51.92. But, when I look at it really, really closely, and even on the weekly, still has some legs there. Some bearish divergence on the weekly, though, on the S&P. And we've been on a massive tear up. So there is caution for the S&P. Are we going to take a dump or are we going to pump? The key is that 58. Once we break 58 and we get above 5,900, it's very likely we're going to continue to pump. I'm going to go on a limb here and say it's just because of the money printing, because of what I'm seeing, very likely that we do not break this trend line. Very likely we actually bounce. Look for this shoulder. So here's the deal. Look for this shoulder, head, and a right shoulder. Break us back up. My prediction is we're going to be somewhere up in here or making the right shoulder right there when I show up next week. All right. The NASDAQ looks a little more lateral, not as vertical, right? Looks like a beautiful ascending triangle. This also tells me the NASDAQ's about to get busy and the daily is a little more oversold. This could carry kind of the rest of the market and we get that pushback. So look for the NASDAQ to bounce off this bottom trend line, start Monday fresh. And it tells me, too, somewhere by November 8th, we'll just be more sideways, ready to plow out of this channel to the upside. It tells us we're getting somewhere by December of 2024. We could move all the way up to 24,000. So 2 months of insanity, that's what the charts are suggesting. I don't know. I know nothing but the fact of my own ignorance. This is what the charts are telling us. Sol Ethereum. Sol is very likely to beat up on ETH out of this rising wedge cup and handle to break to the upside. One thing you want to look at is this 4-hour flag here for Sol ETH. Shoulder, head, right shoulder, right? So it doesn't look amazing. We want to see that this doesn't, if Sol goes back inside the pattern, then But as long as it doesn't, it's going to continue. Once Sol starts to beat up on ETH, that's when the alts are going to really start moving a little bit. Sol really likes to move with Bitcoin too. You can see there's some main coins now that are moving with Bitcoin, and then the rest of the altcoins kind of Like Bitcoin pumps, Sol likes to pump with it. Doge likes to pump with it. The top 50 biggest coins like to move with Bitcoin the most. They tend to get the most fun with Bitcoin. The smaller coins, you have to wait for Bitcoin to pump, and then you need people to take profits out of those large caps and go into the small caps, right? So, boom. Last thing I want to talk about is a fun meme that I do own, and it's called Maneki. Why am I talking about Maneki? Well, I own Maneki, right? But what I want to show you is this Adam and Eve double bottom pattern. I want to make this very basic, but that's an Adam and Eve double bottom. Backtest this. Don't even buy it, but just backtest it. This tells me that Maneki is going to be somewhere up here. It may take 4 or 5 months, but it's telling me Maneki's going to break out. Just wanted to put this on your radar. I do hold Maneki, but I want you to teach you the Adam and Eve double bottom pattern. That's definitely starting to form an Adam and Eve double bottom. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You can find out when I post my next video. Remember, if you came to the channel, then you're already doing the right thing. This is your macro technical analysis video. Hope you had a blast, and we'll be back next week, every single Friday. God bless, and thank you for your time.